Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather to explore a profound truth that lies at the heart of our existence, the art of letting go and discovering the joy of being happy alone. In a world that often equates worth with companionship, we find ourselves ensnared in the illusion that our happiness hinges upon the presence of others. Yet, in the stillness of solitude, we uncover a beauty that is entirely our own. Life, in its essence, is a dance of impermanence. Each relationship we cherish, each connection we hold dear, is but a fleeting moment in the vast tapestry of our lives. To cling to these moments, to hold tightly to those we love, can lead us down a path of suffering. For when we grasp too tightly, we risk losing not only the relationship but also a piece of ourselves. Let us recognize that relationships are transient, they flow like water, shifting and changing. Embracing this impermanence allows us to appreciate the beauty of each encounter without the weight of expectation. In the quest for happiness, we often seek validation and fulfillment from others. Yet the most profound happiness arises not from external sources, but from within. To be truly happy alone is to cultivate a sense of self-sufficiency, a fullness that does not depend on another's presence. It is in learning to sit with ourselves, to cherish our own company, that we discover the depths of our being. Happiness is not something to be found, it is something to be realized. The illusion of control looms large in our lives. We often feel compelled to control our relationships, to mold others to our desires. However, the more we try to hold on to people, the more we tether ourselves to suffering. Letting go is not an act of loss, it is a liberating choice that allows life to flow naturally. When we release our grip, we open ourselves to the serendipity of existence, trusting that what is meant for us will come in its own time. Attachment, we must remember, is a double-edged sword. While it can bring joy, it also lays the groundwork for disappointment and heartache. The more we cling to people or outcomes, the more we become entangled in a web of expectation. To let go of this attachment is to liberate ourselves from the chains of our own making. It is to embrace the freedom that exists in allowing others to be who they are, independent of our desires. Solitude, often mistaken for loneliness, is a sanctuary of self-discovery. In the quietude of our own company, we can hear the whispers of our true selves. Solitude is not an absence, it is a presence filled with potential. In this space we can reflect, create, and grow. We learn that we are enough, whole and complete, without the need for validation from another. Trust, dear friends, in the flow of life. Life unfolds in mysterious ways, guiding us toward what we truly need. When we learn to let go, we make room for new experiences, new people, and new lessons. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, knows what is best for us. By releasing our attachments, we align ourselves with the rhythm of life, embracing its uncertainties with open hearts. In this journey of letting go, we discover the exhilarating freedom that accompanies it. It is a freedom that allows us to explore our passions, to delve into our dreams, and to engage with the world around us without the burdens of expectation. We learn that we are not defined by our relationships, but by the love we cultivate within ourselves. Finally, let us speak of self-love, the foundation of lasting happiness. When we learn to love ourselves wholly and unconditionally, we fill the void that often leads us to seek fulfillment in others. Self-love is the light that illuminates our path, guiding us through the shadows of doubt and insecurity. It is a reminder that our worth is inherent, independent of external validation. So I urge you to let them go, to release the need for approval, and to embrace the beauty of your own company. In doing so, you will uncover a profound happiness that transcends the transient nature of relationships. You will find that the journey inward is the most rewarding path of all. Life, in its essence, is a constant flow of change, a river that never stops moving. Each relationship we form, whether it be with family, friends, or romantic partners, is a beautiful moment in time, but one that is also marked by the inevitability of transition. From the moment we meet someone, we are engaging in an interaction that is alive, vibrant, and dynamic, yet it is also subject to the forces of time and circumstance. We must come to recognize that no connection is fixed. It is shaped by the seasons of life, the ebb and flow of personal growth, and the changing tides of our own hearts. When we embrace the impermanence of relationships, we begin to understand that every encounter carries its own unique lessons. Each person we meet has a purpose in our lives, even if that purpose is simply to teach us about ourselves, about love, or about the nature of letting go. This impermanence reminds us that relationships are not possessions to be hoarded, but experiences to be cherished for as long as they last. The joy of a friendship, the warmth of a romantic relationship, or the comfort of family ties, all are transient moments that add richness to our lives, yet none can be held on to indefinitely. Clinging to relationships can lead to fear and anxiety. We often find ourselves trying to control, to manipulate, or to force connections to last beyond their natural course. This desire for permanence can create a dissonance between our expectations and the reality of life's fluid nature. When we resist the changes that come, we may find ourselves struggling against the current, holding tightly to something that was never meant to last. In doing so, we create unnecessary suffering, both for ourselves and for others, as we fail to honor the truth that all things must eventually change. Yet, within this recognition of impermanence lies a profound gift, the opportunity to fully appreciate each moment. When we understand that relationships are fleeting, we become more present, more attuned to the nuances of our connections. We learn to savor the laughter, the shared experiences, and the quiet moments of understanding. This awareness cultivates a deeper appreciation for the people in our lives, allowing us to express our love and gratitude without reservation. It teaches us to say the things we feel, to embrace vulnerability, and to show up fully in our relationships, knowing that each interaction may be one of a kind. Ultimately, accepting the impermanence of relationships liberates us. It frees us from the fear of loss, allowing us to love without attachment. Instead of viewing endings as failures, we can embrace them as natural conclusions to beautiful chapters in our lives. Each goodbye, each shift becomes an invitation to grow, to evolve, and to open ourselves to new experiences. In this way, we learn that letting go is not an act of loss, but a celebration of what was, a way to honor the memories we've created while remaining open to what is yet to come. In this dance of life, with its ever-changing relationships, we find a deeper understanding of ourselves. As we learn to let go, we also learn to welcome new connections, to explore new horizons, and to embrace the unfolding journey of existence. We come to recognize that, while relationships may be impermanent, the love and wisdom we gather along the way are everlasting, shaping the essence of who we are and guiding us into the future. Self-sufficiency is a cornerstone of true happiness and fulfillment. It is the realization that our worth and contentment are not dependent on external validation or the presence of others. In a world that often encourages us to seek affirmation and approval from those around us, cultivating self-sufficiency invites us to turn our attention inward, to explore the depths of our own being, and to recognize that we hold the key to our happiness within ourselves. When we embrace self-sufficiency, we begin to understand the importance of nurturing our own needs and desires. This journey starts with self-awareness, where we learn to listen to our inner voice, to honor our feelings, and to identify what truly brings us joy. It requires us to step away from the noise of societal expectations and to tune into our own rhythms. In this space, we cultivate the ability to find solace in our own company, to enjoy our own thoughts, and to engage in activities that resonate with our true selves. Whether it's pursuing a passion, exploring new interests, or simply taking time for reflection, these moments of solitude become a rich tapestry of self-discovery. The journey towards self-sufficiency also involves understanding our emotions and learning how to manage them independently. It is about developing resilience and finding ways to cope with life's challenges without relying solely on others for support. While seeking companionship and connection is a natural human desire, the ability to navigate our emotions and experiences independently allows us to build a solid foundation of inner strength. We learn that it's okay to feel sad, lonely, or anxious, but we also discover that we have the power to uplift ourselves, to find joy in the little things, and to rise above the storms of life. Moreover, self-sufficiency fosters a sense of empowerment. When we recognize that we are the architects of our own happiness, we can take proactive steps to shape our lives in ways that align with our values and aspirations. We no longer wait for someone else to make us happy. Instead, we seek out the experiences, relationships, and opportunities that resonate with our true selves. This proactive mindset encourages us to set goals, to pursue our passions, and to engage with the world around us in meaningful ways. We become active participants in our lives rather than passive observers, reclaiming our agency and asserting our individuality. As we cultivate self-sufficiency, we also learn to set healthy boundaries in our relationships. This is a crucial aspect of maintaining our well-being. We begin to understand that while connections with others can enrich our lives, they should never come at the cost of our own happiness. By establishing boundaries, we protect our energy and preserve our sense of self, ensuring that our relationships are rooted in mutual respect and understanding. This clarity empowers us to engage with others authentically, fostering connections that uplift rather than diminish us. Ultimately, the journey towards self-sufficiency reveals the beauty of interdependence. While it's essential to be self-reliant, we also learn that healthy relationships can enhance our lives without being the sole source of our happiness. When we approach connections from a place of wholeness, we are free to engage with others without the burden of expectation. We can share our joys, our experiences, and our vulnerabilities, knowing that we are complete in ourselves. This shift allows for deeper, more meaningful connections that celebrate our individuality while recognizing the value of community. In embracing self-sufficiency, we step into a state of empowerment, self-awareness, and resilience. We discover that our happiness is a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. And in nurturing that relationship, we create a wellspring of joy that flows into every aspect of our lives. As we learn to stand on our own, we open the door to a richer, more fulfilling existence, one that is not contingent on the presence of others, but one that celebrates the vibrant, unique individual we are. The illusion of control is a powerful and pervasive concept that influences our thoughts, actions, and relationships. As human beings, we have an innate desire to assert control over our lives, to shape our circumstances according to our wishes and preferences. Yet the reality is that much of life unfolds beyond our grasp, governed by a myriad of factors that are often beyond our understanding or influence. Recognizing this paradox can lead us to a more profound acceptance of the unpredictability of existence and ultimately to a greater sense of peace. At the heart of the illusion of control lies the belief that we can dictate the outcomes of our relationships and experiences. We may invest time and energy into trying to manage how others perceive us or how they respond to us, seeking to maintain a certain image or connection. We craft elaborate plans, envisioning a future that aligns with our desires, all while overlooking the fact that life has its own agenda. When we become attached to specific outcomes, we create an internal narrative that centers around control, often accompanied by anxiety and fear. This desire to control can lead us to cling tightly to people, situations, and expectations, mistakenly believing that our happiness depends on them. The truth is that the more we attempt to control our circumstances, the more we may find ourselves at odds with the natural flow of life. Life is inherently unpredictable, filled with twists and turns that can disrupt our carefully laid plans. When we encounter setbacks or changes, it's easy to fall into a mindset of frustration, resentment, or despair. However, when we recognize the futility of trying to exert control over every aspect of our lives, we open ourselves to the possibility of embracing change with grace and acceptance. We can learn to navigate life's uncertainties with a sense of curiosity rather than resistance. Moreover, the illusion of control often creates barriers in our relationships. When we attempt to control how others behave, we undermine the authenticity of our connections. Relationships thrive on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. When we impose our expectations onto others, we risk alienating them. True intimacy arises not from control, but from the freedom to be oneself, unencumbered by the weight of another's desires. By relinquishing our need to control others, we create space for genuine connection, one that allows for growth, exploration, and the organic unfolding of our interactions. Embracing the illusion of control also invites us to cultivate a mindset of trust in ourselves, trust in others, and trust in the universe. When we accept that we cannot control everything, we can shift our focus to what we can influence: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses to the situations we encounter. We begin to recognize that while we cannot dictate the external circumstances of our lives, we have the power to choose how we respond to them. This shift in perspective empowers us to cultivate resilience, adaptability, and creativity in the face of challenges. In surrendering the illusion of control, we also discover the beauty of letting go. We learn that releasing our grip on specific outcomes frees us to explore new possibilities. Instead of being confined by our expectations, we can embrace the unknown with open arms, allowing life to unfold in its own way. This act of letting go is not an admission of defeat, rather, it is an acknowledgement of the complexity of existence. It is an invitation to step into the flow of life, trusting that what is meant for us will find its way, regardless of how we might have envisioned it. Ultimately, the illusion of control serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between intention and surrender. While it is natural to have goals and aspirations, we must also hold them lightly, understanding that they may evolve or change in ways we never anticipated. By embracing uncertainty, we cultivate a sense of freedom that allows us to engage with life more fully. We learn to find joy in the journey, recognizing that the true essence of our experiences lies not in the outcomes we seek, but in the richness of the moments we encounter along the way. In relinquishing control, we open ourselves to the wonder of life, welcoming each new experience with an open heart and a curious spirit. The nature of attachment is a profound and intricate aspect of the human experience, influencing our relationships, our emotions, and our sense of self. At its core, attachment reflects our deep-seated need for connection and belonging. From the earliest moments of life, we seek bonds with others, forming attachments that provide us with security, love, and a sense of identity. Yet, while these connections can enrich our lives, they can also lead us to entangle ourselves in patterns of dependency and clinging that ultimately create suffering. Attachment can be viewed as a double-edged sword. On one hand, it fosters intimacy and connection, allowing us to form meaningful relationships with family, friends, and partners. These bonds are essential for our emotional well-being, providing us with comfort, support, and a sense of belonging. They help us navigate the complexities of life, offering companionship during times of joy and solace during moments of hardship. However, as we navigate the landscape of our attachments, we must be mindful of the potential pitfalls that can arise when we become overly attached. When we become excessively attached to people, outcomes, or possessions, we risk losing sight of our own sense of self. This dependency can manifest in various ways, from the need for constant reassurance from others to the fear of abandonment. Such attachments often lead us to derive our self-worth from our relationships, causing us to feel incomplete or unworthy without the presence of others. This mindset can trap us in a cycle of longing, where we feel we need to hold tightly to those we love in order to feel whole, inadvertently creating anxiety and tension in our connections. Furthermore, attachment can breed a sense of possessiveness. We may begin to view our loved ones as extensions of ourselves, clinging to them out of fear of losing the connection we've established. This possessiveness can stifle the growth of both individuals within the relationship, as it places undue pressure on one another to conform to expectations. Instead of fostering an environment of trust and freedom, excessive attachment can create a dynamic rooted in fear and control. In this way, what initially begins as a source of comfort can transform into a burden, leading to resentment and strife. To understand the nature of attachment is to recognize the importance of balance. It is essential to cultivate healthy attachments that promote growth, autonomy, and mutual respect. This involves allowing space for individual identities to flourish within relationships, acknowledging that both partners are complete and whole on their own. By encouraging one another to pursue personal interests, passions, and goals, we create a dynamic of interdependence rather than dependence. In this way, love becomes a source of empowerment rather than a constraint. Additionally, we must learn to differentiate between healthy attachment and unhealthy dependency. Healthy attachments are characterized by a sense of security and trust, where both individuals feel free to express themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. Unhealthy dependencies, on the other hand, often lead to feelings of anxiety, possessiveness, and control. By becoming aware of these dynamics, we can begin to cultivate a healthier relationship with our attachments, allowing love to flow freely while remaining rooted in our own sense of self-worth. Ultimately, the nature of attachment invites us to explore the delicate balance between connection and independence. It encourages us to embrace the beauty of our relationships while also acknowledging the necessity of self-love and self-sufficiency. As we learn to navigate our attachments with mindfulness and awareness, we empower ourselves to create meaningful connections that enrich our lives without confining our spirits. This journey is not about relinquishing our attachments entirely, but rather about transforming them into sources of strength and support, where love can flourish without the weight of expectation. In this exploration, we come to understand that the nature of attachment is not a fixed state, but a dynamic interplay of connection and autonomy. By fostering awareness of our attachments and nurturing a sense of self, we can embrace the fullness of our relationships while honoring the individual paths we each tread. In doing so, we open ourselves to the profound beauty of human connection, allowing love to blossom freely, enriched by the understanding that we are whole in ourselves, even as we share our lives with others. The joy of solitude is an experience often misunderstood in a world that celebrates constant connection, interaction, and social validation. Solitude is often conflated with loneliness, and the idea of being alone is frequently associated with feelings of isolation or inadequacy. Yet solitude, when embraced fully, is a sacred space that offers profound insight, creativity, and inner peace. It is not an absence of others, but a presence within oneself, where the noise of the external world quiets, and we can tune into the deeper layers of our being. In solitude, we find a unique freedom. Without the distractions of conversation, expectation, or social roles, we are given the opportunity to connect with our own thoughts, emotions, and desires. It is here, in this quiet space, that we can truly listen to us. We begin to notice the subtleties of our inner world, the thoughts that have been buried beneath the noise, the feelings we have perhaps avoided, and the passions that may have been neglected. Solitude offers the gift of self-awareness, helping us to discover who we are when we are not performing for the outside world. This period of reflection allows for a deeper understanding of our own needs and values. When we step away from the constant interactions that fill our daily lives, we are no longer influenced by the opinions and expectations of others. This creates a space for authenticity, where we can explore what genuinely brings us joy and fulfillment. Solitude invites us to reconnect with the activities that nourish our soul, whether it's reading, writing, painting, walking in nature, or simply sitting in stillness. It is in these moments that we rediscover our passions and rekindle our relationship with ourselves. Solitude also fosters creativity. Many of the greatest artistic and intellectual achievements have been born from periods of solitude, where the mind is free to wander, to experiment, and to dream without the constraints of external input. In solitude, we can access a wellspring of inspiration that often goes untapped in the hustle and bustle of daily life. Without the pressure to conform or meet the expectations of others, we can explore ideas with a sense of openness and curiosity, allowing new perspectives and innovations to emerge naturally. In this space of aloneness, we also encounter an unexpected sense of peace. There is a deep tranquility that arises when we are alone, a stillness that allows us to let go of the need to be constantly engaged or entertained. This peace is not the absence of activity, but the presence of mindfulness, where each moment can be experienced fully and without distraction. We learn to appreciate the simplicity of life, the sound of the wind, the feeling of the sun on our skin, the quiet rhythm of our breath. In these moments, we realize that joy is not something that must be sought externally, but something that can be found in the quiet presence of the here and now. Solitude teaches us that we are enough. It challenges the notion that our worth is tied to our relationships or social status. In solitude, we learn that we are complete within ourselves, that we do not need the constant validation or company of others to feel fulfilled. This realization can be incredibly empowering as it frees us from the fear of being alone. When we become comfortable in our own company, we stop seeking external distractions to fill the void and instead begin to enjoy the richness of our inner world. Moreover, solitude enhances our relationships. When we take the time to be alone, we recharge our emotional batteries and gain clarity on what truly matters to us. This allows us to engage with others more mindfully and authentically, as we are no longer seeking to fill an emotional gap. Instead, we approach our relationships from a place of wholeness, where connection becomes an enriching complement to our already fulfilled life rather than a necessity for our happiness. In embracing solitude, we also come to understand the impermanence of everything around us. Solitude helps us to let go of attachment, to realize that everything we seek externally, whether it's love, success, or approval, will eventually pass. In solitude, we find a deeper connection to the self that transcends these fleeting desires. We become more resilient, more at peace with the natural ebb and flow of life, knowing that our inner foundation remains strong regardless of the changing circumstances around us. Ultimately, the joy of solitude is the joy of returning home to ourselves. It is a space where we can rest, reflect, and recharge, free from the demands of the outside world. It is a place of quiet empowerment where we discover that we are more than enough on our own. In solitude, we find not only a deep sense of peace, but also the freedom to be fully and unapologetically ourselves. Through this experience, we come to appreciate the beauty of our own company and the richness that lies within us, waiting to be explored. Trusting in the flow of life is a practice of surrender, an acknowledgement that much of what happens in our journey is beyond our control. It is the understanding that life moves with a rhythm and wisdom of its own, often leading us down paths we had not anticipated or imagined. While we may have plans, hopes, and dreams, life does not always unfold in the way we expect, and this unpredictability can be both a source of discomfort and a gateway to profound transformation. When we trust in the flow of life, we release the need to constantly direct and shape every moment. This doesn't mean we abandon our goals or aspirations. Rather, it means we hold them lightly, recognizing that there are forces at play far greater than our individual will. We acknowledge that while we can set intentions and take action, the outcome is ultimately out of our hands. By releasing our attachment to specific results, we free ourselves from the anxiety and frustration that come from trying to control what cannot be controlled. At the heart of trusting the flow of life is a deep sense of faith that even in moments of uncertainty, challenge, or loss, life is guiding us toward growth and understanding. It requires us to accept that setbacks are not necessarily failures, but rather opportunities for learning and growth. Each twist and turn, each unexpected detour brings with it lessons that shape who we are. Trusting the flow means believing that there is purpose even in the chaos, that every experience contributes to our evolution, even if we cannot see it in the moment. This trust allows us to embrace uncertainty with grace. Life is full of unknowns, and the future is never fully predictable. Often we find ourselves worrying about what might happen or striving to ensure that things go according to plan. But in this state of constant striving, we lose sight of the present moment, where life is actually happening. Trusting the flow invites us to step into the present, to engage fully with what is right in front of us, rather than obsessing over what may or may not come. It teaches us that the present moment holds everything we need to move forward. In trusting the flow, we also cultivate resilience. Life is not always smooth or easy, and we will inevitably face challenges, losses, and disappointments. But when we trust in the natural flow, we become more adaptable, more willing to navigate the highs and lows without being swept away by them. This trust gives us the strength to endure difficult times with the understanding that they too will pass. Just as rivers carve new paths through valleys, so too do we find our way through life's difficulties, often emerging stronger and more aligned with our true selves. Furthermore, trusting the flow fosters a sense of openness and curiosity. When we let go of rigid expectations, we open ourselves to possibilities we might never have considered. Life becomes less about controlling outcomes and more about exploring what unfolds. This openness allows us to meet new experiences, people, and opportunities with a sense of wonder, free from the fear of things not turning out right. In this state of trust, we begin to see that life's surprises often bring us to places of greater fulfillment than we could have imagined on our own. It also deepens our relationship with ourselves and with the world around us. When we trust life's flow, we begin to trust our own ability to navigate it. We develop an inner confidence that no matter what happens, we have the strength, wisdom, and resilience to respond to life's challenges. This self-trust is crucial, as it allows us to move through life with greater ease, knowing that we are equipped to handle whatever comes our way. At the same time, we cultivate a sense of connection with the broader currents of life, realizing that we are part of a much larger, interconnected web of existence. Ultimately, trusting in the flow of life is an invitation to live more fully. It asks us to let go of the need for certainty, to embrace the unknown, and to welcome each experience with an open heart. It teaches us that life is not something to be conquered or controlled, but something to be experienced and explored. When we trust the flow, we align ourselves with the natural rhythm of existence, moving with life's current rather than against it. In this space of trust, we find peace, resilience, and a deeper sense of connection to ourselves and the world around us. Freedom in letting go is one of life's most liberating experiences, a profound release from the weight of expectations, attachments, and desires that no longer serve us. Letting go is not about giving up or retreating. Rather, it is an act of courage, a conscious decision to free ourselves from the chains of control, fear, and clinging that often bind us. It is about recognizing that the more we try to hold on to things, whether it be relationships, circumstances, or outcomes, the more we limit our own growth and the potential for new possibilities. The process of letting go begins with acceptance. It is the acknowledgement that life, in all its unpredictability, is not something we can control. People change, circumstances shift, and the future remains unknown. By accepting this fundamental truth, we loosen our grip on the need to make things go a certain way. This acceptance is not passive resignation, but an active embrace of reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. When we accept what is, we stop resisting life's natural flow and begin to move with it, allowing things to unfold without the constant pressure of our expectations. Letting go is also about releasing our attachment to specific outcomes. Often we become fixated on achieving certain goals or maintaining certain relationships, believing that our happiness is dependent on them. This attachment creates a sense of urgency and anxiety as we feel that our well-being is contingent upon external circumstances. However, true freedom comes when we release these attachments and trust that life will unfold as it should. We begin to see that our happiness does not hinge on any one event, person, or achievement, but is something we can cultivate within ourselves, independent of external conditions. In letting go, we also free ourselves from the burden of past regrets and future anxieties. Many of us carry the weight of past mistakes or missed opportunities, replaying scenarios in our minds and wishing we could change them. Similarly, we may obsess over future outcomes, trying to predict and control what has yet to happen. This constant focus on the past and future keeps us from living fully in the present moment, where life is actually happening. Letting go allows us to release the past and stop fearing the future, enabling us to experience the present with greater clarity and peace. One of the most profound aspects of letting go is the space it creates for transformation. When we hold tightly to something, whether it's a belief, a relationship, or a situation, we close ourselves off to the possibility of change. By letting go, we open ourselves to new experiences, new perspectives, and new opportunities. We make room for growth both in ourselves and in our relationships. Letting go is not about abandonment, but about creating space for what is truly meant to be in our lives. It is an invitation for renewal and evolution, a clearing of the old to make way for the new. Moreover, letting go fosters a deep sense of inner peace. When we stop resisting the natural ebb and flow of life, we begin to experience a profound sense of relief. the need to control, to cling, or to fight against what is no longer weighs us down. Instead, we cultivate a sense of trust in ourselves, trust in the process of life, and trust that we are exactly where we need to be. This trust allows us to move through life with greater ease, knowing that we have the strength and resilience to navigate whatever comes our way. Letting go also transforms our relationships. Often we hold on to people out of fear of losing them, fear of being alone, or fear that we are not enough without them. This clinging can create tension and dependency, suffocating the very connection we seek to preserve. By letting go, we allow others the freedom to be who they are without the pressure of our expectations. In doing so, we cultivate deeper, more authentic relationships based on mutual respect and understanding rather than need or control. We stop trying to force connections and instead allow them to evolve naturally, embracing the beauty of what is. Ultimately, the freedom in letting go is the freedom to be fully alive. It is the recognition that life is ever-changing, that nothing is permanent, and that this impermanence is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. When we let go, we step into the flow of life, moving with it rather than against it. We become open to new possibilities, new joys, and new experiences that we may have never encountered had we continued to cling to what was. In this freedom, we discover a deeper sense of fulfillment and a greater capacity for joy, unburdened by the need to control, to possess, or to hold onto what is already gone. In letting go, we find not only freedom, but also a sense of profound liberation. It is the liberation from the constraints of our own expectations and the limitations we place on ourselves. It is the freedom to live fully in the present, unencumbered by the past or the future, and to experience life as it is, with all its beauty, complexity, and uncertainty. Letting go is not an act of loss, but an act of gaining clarity, gaining peace, and gaining the ability to embrace life in its entirety. The power of self-love is one of the most transformative forces in our lives. It is the foundation upon which we build our sense of worth, security, and happiness. Self-love is not about vanity or selfishness. It is about recognizing our inherent value, treating ourselves with kindness and respect, and embracing who we are without judgment. When we cultivate self-love, we create a solid inner foundation that allows us to navigate life's challenges with greater resilience and grace. It is through self-love that we learn to live authentically, find joy within, and build deeper, more fulfilling relationships. Self-love begins with self-awareness, the process of getting to know ourselves on a deeper level. It requires us to turn inward, to listen to our thoughts, emotions, and needs without the noise of external validation. This journey of self-discovery is essential because without truly knowing who we are, it is difficult to offer ourselves genuine love and care. As we become more aware of our strengths and weaknesses, our desires and fears, we can begin to accept ourselves fully. This acceptance is a key component of self-love, as it allows us to embrace both our light and our shadow without the constant pressure to be perfect. In practicing self-love, we learn to treat ourselves with the same compassion and understanding that we would offer to a dear friend. So often we are our own harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards and punishing ourselves for our perceived shortcomings. But self-love teaches us to be gentle with ourselves, to recognize that we are human and that mistakes and imperfections are a natural part of life. It invites us to forgive ourselves, to let go of the guilt and shame that can weigh us down, and to nurture ourselves with kindness. This shift in perspective is crucial, as it allows us to move through life with greater ease and confidence, free from the burden of self-judgment. Self-love also empowers us to set healthy boundaries. When we love ourselves, we understand that our well-being is a priority, and we become more willing to protect our energy, time, and emotional space. This means learning to say no when necessary, distancing ourselves from toxic relationships, and making choices that align with our values and needs. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, but about honoring our own limits and ensuring that we are not sacrificing our well-being for the sake of others. Through self-love, we become more discerning about what we allow into our lives, and this discernment leads to healthier, more balanced relationships. Moreover, self-love fosters a sense of inner security. When we truly love and accept ourselves, we no longer feel the need to seek constant validation from others. We stop relying on external sources, whether it's approval from friends, recognition from work, or praise from society to define our worth. Instead, we develop a deep sense of self-worth that comes from within. This inner security is liberating, as it frees us from the pressure to conform or to please others in order to feel valued. We begin to live more authentically, guided by our own values and desires, rather than by the expectations of those around us. The power of self-love also lies in its ability to transform our relationships. When we love ourselves, we attract relationships that reflect that love. We are no longer drawn to people who diminish or devalue us because we no longer tolerate anything less than respect and kindness. Instead, we seek connections that uplift and inspire us, relationships that are built on mutual respect, support, and understanding. Self-love also allows us to show up more fully in our relationships, as we are not looking for others to fill a void within us. Instead, we approach relationships from a place of wholeness where we can give and receive love freely without fear or insecurity. Furthermore, self-love teaches us the importance of self-care. It reminds us that we cannot pour from an empty cup, and that taking care of ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually is essential for our overall well-being. This self-care is not indulgence, it is a necessary practice that allows us to replenish our energy and nurture our inner peace. Whether it's through rest, exercise, meditation, creative expression, or spending time in nature, self-care is an expression of self-love that helps us maintain balance and vitality in our lives. By prioritizing self-care, we ensure that we are operating from a place of fullness, able to meet life's demands with greater resilience and clarity. At its core, self-love is about embracing our own worthiness. It is the recognition that we are enough, just as we are, without the need to prove ourselves or earn love from others. When we fully accept and love ourselves, we give ourselves permission to live authentically, to pursue our passions, and to be unapologetically ourselves. This sense of worthiness is powerful, as it allows us to step into our true potential, free from the limitations of self-doubt or fear. In loving ourselves, we unlock the courage to pursue our dreams, to take risks, and to create a life that is aligned with our deepest desires. Ultimately, the power of self-love lies in its ability to transform every aspect of our lives. It changes the way we see ourselves, the way we interact with others, and the way we approach life's challenges. It is a source of inner strength, peace, and joy, one that sustains us even in the face of adversity. Through self-love, we learn to live from a place of abundance rather than lack, finding fulfillment within ourselves rather than seeking it outside. This inner fulfillment allows us to move through life with greater ease, purpose, and freedom, knowing that we are worthy of love, happiness, and all the good that life has to offer. In the end, the journey of letting go, learning to be happy alone, and embracing self-love is one of profound transformation. It is about releasing the illusions of control, attachment, and fear, and trusting in the natural flow of life. As we let go of what no longer serves us, whether it's relationships, expectations, or the need for external validation, we open ourselves to the deeper joys of solitude and self-sufficiency. We discover that true freedom lies not in holding on, but in releasing, and that happiness is not something we find outside of ourselves, but something we cultivate within. Through self-love, we build a strong inner foundation that allows us to live authentically, navigate life's uncertainties with grace, and create deeper, more fulfilling connections with others. Ultimately, the path of letting go leads us to a place of peace, fulfillment, and empowerment, where we are free to be fully present in the moment, trusting that we are enough, just as we are.